Chapter 4. Cal. I look up from my paperwork when my phone pings, letting me know I've got a new email. Sweet. Logan sent one of those e-document lease agreements. He seems like a guy who has his act together. It briefly occurs to me that I could be setting myself up for a terrible living experience. But I'm a pretty chill dude. I've got divorced parents, weird brothers, and a female cousin who is basically the bratty sister I've always needed to let me know when I screw up. This will be fine. I can tell. I stand up and stretch, noticing a dull ache in my limbs left over from the boat crash. I've been sitting way too long. I hate being at a desk. Most days I wish I'd gone into civil engineering like my brothers. At least then I'd be out in the field on the reg, climbing poles and checking out mine seams. Who knew mechanical engineering involved more paperwork than it did getting my hands on mechanical engines? I remind myself it'll likely be a long-ass time before my dad trusts me with any hands-on work. We still haven't talked about my birthday. Well, moving out of my apartment ought to get my blood flowing at any rate. It's true what I told Logan. I pretty much just have my clothes, my bed, and my couch. Shouldn't take too long to throw all that together. I will need help to get my bed in Big Red, though. I poke my head out my office door to the cubicle farm. I'm painfully aware that I really only have an office because my dad runs this place. Despite passing my professional exams, I'm basically a paper pusher here, like all these guys with no privacy. I look around, trying to find one of the interns. Yo, Drew! I lean against the wall of his cubicle, and I feel it wobble a bit under my weight. I straighten up as he turns around. You want to earn a quick $50 after work today? He arches a brow at me. I remember what it was like to be in college. I also know what we pay our interns, so I definitely understand why Drew starts nodding before I even tell him what I need. It shouldn't be more than a few hours, I tell him. I need help getting my couch up on top of my Bronco, and maybe a hand taking my bed apart. I don't have much stuff. Sounds like a plan, he says. Did you drive today? I laugh. I also remember what it was like taking the bus to and from campus every day, although I'm sure my dad and uncle would prefer if I didn't park Big Red in the company lot. She's not much to look at, a little bit like me, rough around the edges, full of big ideas, not content to sit parked among the neat and tidy company cars without dripping a little. Around 4, I grab Drew and we head to the loft I've been sharing with Liam for a few years. Of course, the place is spotless. I know Liam thinks he's doing me all sorts of favors, picking up after me all the time, but truthfully, he drives me insane the way he's always rearranging the cupboards so I can't find anything. Like, I'd probably remember to pick my running shoes up out of the entryway if it didn't take me so long to find my protein powder to make a recovery drink after my long runs. I have high hopes this won't be an issue living with Logan. Drew and I get my clothes in trash bags pretty easily, and the rest of my personal stuff in my duffel bag. I borrow a handful of bungee cords from my brother, and the two of us get my couch settled in on top of Big Red. It doesn't take long to disassemble my platform bed. I can't decide if it's awesome or sort of pathetic that my entire life fits inside my car. I say to Drew, who shrugs. You don't even have video games? He looks around the living room as I do a final sweep of my bedroom. I remember that I do actually own a suit, but since my room here didn't have a closet, it's hanging in my brother's. I feel a pang when I see that he's hung it carefully in a garment bag for me, obviously cleaned after the last time I wore it to a company event. We aren't really gamers, I say to Drew. I grab the suit, remembering that I'm not moving to the moon. We mostly wrestle with each other over the guac at family dinners and go running together. I shake the duffel bag with all my running gear. I take one final look around the loft and then toss my keys on the counter before I pull the door shut behind me. Drew and I drive to the East End, rocking out to some jams as we sit in traffic with the windows rolled down. I pull into a loading spot in front of my new digs and ring for Logan, who buzzes us in. I'm not sure what to expect, but it's definitely not the chick who opens the door when Drew and I get to the apartment with our arms full of trash bags. Are you Logan's girlfriend? I ask at the exact same time the girl asks me, Are you Callie's boyfriend? I crack a smile. Boyfriend? Me? Nah, I'm single. Where's Logan? I want to meet my new roomie. I crane my neck to see around her, catching a whiff of her shampoo as I do. She smells very clean. Her hair is all smoothed back in some sort of twist, and she's wearing all black. She must work in a stuffy office with a dress code. Where's Callie? She asks, putting her hands on her hips, causing me to notice how the material of her blouse pulls across her chest. Callie? She rolls her eyes. I'm Logan Miller, and Callie Brady answered my ad for a roommate. She frowns at the bags in my arms. Are you helping her move? Drew starts laughing and tosses his bags inside the door. Oh, snap, Brady, he says, bending at the waist to catch his breath. You're screwed. I suck in air through my teeth and consider this woman. I am Callum Eamon Brady, I tell her. And you've got a dude's name. Her eyebrow shoots up. Well, you've got a woman's nickname. My nickname is Cal, I tell her, tossing my trash bags in the door on top of the ones Drew dropped. Cal, space, E, space, Brady. What's so feminine about that? Logan rolls her eyes at me and throws her hands up in the air. I should have known better than to trust someone who doesn't use punctuation or capital letters in their email, she shrieks. What the heck are we supposed to do? You can't live here. This is definitely not what I expected. But after the week I've had, I'm definitely not up to moving my shit back home and having to beg my brother to let me inside the door. I walk inside the condo, checking out the space. There's tons of room here and really good light. I use punctuation, I mutter, walking down the hall. I stop in front of the empty room. I grin at the view of a bunch of kids playing soccer in the park down below. It's nice here. Drew, let's bring up the bed next. I start to walk back out, looking around for something to prop the door open. Logan follows me, her dress shoes clicking on the polished concrete as she hurries. What are you doing? You can't move in. I can't live with a man? I flip the deadbolt so the door won't slam and turn to face her. Listen, Toots, you have nothing to worry about from me. What you see is what you get. Just because I have a peen doesn't make me any more of a threat than whoever you were expecting when you signed a lease without meeting your roommate. I hear her groan as Drew pushes the button for the elevator, still laughing. He and I hustle with the rest of my stuff, and in about 3 more trips, have everything I own deposited in heaps around Logan's formerly tidy condo. You're something else, Brady, he says, holding out his palm for his cash. I fish around in my jeans for my wallet and shake my head as I count out the bills. This is really no big deal, I tell him. He looks toward the balcony, where Logan is pacing and tugging on her hair in frustration. It falls out of the twist and slithers down her shoulders, long and brown and shiny. Sure, man, Drew says. It's no big deal at all to be living with a hot librarian. I grin at him. You get that vibe too? Drew heads out, and I adjust the couch, moving Logan's armchair to the side so the couch faces the TV she mounted on the wall. I flop back with my hands behind my head as my new roommate slides open the balcony door to come back inside. So, I ask her, what's your deal, Logan the girl?
Chapter 5. Logan. I'm not a girl, I huff at him, feeling very childish indeed when I do. Cal has certainly made himself right at home, which is unnerving and calming all at once, somehow. What are you doing? He grins at me, and I stare at his perfectly white teeth. He has the kind of teeth where you can tell his parents sent him to the orthodontist. I'm always very self-conscious about my smile. I was probably the only teenager around who wished for braces, while everyone around me was groaning about not being able to chew gum. I add invisible braces to my mental wish list for when I get my finances sorted out. I'm relaxing, Logan, kicking back on the couch in my new apartment. What's it look like? He laughs and sits up, stretching, and I stare at him as his t-shirt lifts, revealing a sliver of flat, tan abdomen. I take in the long lines of my new roommate, the veins in his forearms, the way his too long hair curls around his ears and at the nape of his neck. After a bit, He groans and stands up, stretching and giving me more of a view of his stomach. I can't look away. I cannot live with someone who looks like this. It's indecent. He stoops to pick up some of the trash bags that evidently contain his belongings, and I watch as the muscles in his neck flex with his effort. "You like watching me work hard?" He shouts over his shoulder as he walks down the hall toward his room, and I follow, drawn to him. This might be the longest time I've spent alone with an adult male. What am I thinking? Allowing him to unpack, to actually move forward with this ridiculous arrangement. I can't live with a man. Not a man that looks well, like men are supposed to look, I decide. I'm not a virgin. I've given sex the old college try. That doesn't mean I'm going to have sex with him. Maybe it's like Cal said. Him having a penis doesn't automatically make him a bad choice for a roommate. No, it's more that I don't know him. We haven't discussed our lifestyles. What on earth was I thinking, sending him a lease agreement before I met him? "Hey, Logan, can you hold this for me?" Cal's voice carries me back to the present, and I look in the door to his room. I'm already thinking of it as his room. He's kneeling in the middle of a pile of boards, holding a wrench thingy. "I could use a hand just keeping this steady, if you're willing." His face is so earnest, like there's truly nothing else he wants or needs than a steady hand to help screw two boards together. I feel myself waiting to try to figure out the joke, holding my breath to see which social norm I've violated. But none of that happens. Instead, he just lifts his eyebrows higher and higher in anticipation of my answer. "Let me change out of my work clothes quickly," I say, dashing down the hall to my own room before he can respond. I hang my slacks on the hanger carefully, toss the blouse in the hamper, and yank open my drawers, searching for something I won't mind ripping. My wardrobe is nearly 100% office wear at this point. I had to devote my entire clothes budget to finding a set of things I could wear to work every day without looking like I'm repeating the same 5 outfits each week. I glance at my drawers and decide my old uniform from waiting tables will have to do for assembling furniture. And I yank on some ripped jeans with a diner t-shirt. "All right," I say to Cal, noting that he's setting up his bed on the wall he shares with my room. Our heads will be inches apart, separated only by some drywall. I bite my lip, urging my brain not to linger on thoughts of Cal in bed. "Tell me what to do." He lines up a board and tells me to hold it steady as he quickly cranks in a few screws. I see that the wrench tool is hooked up to his keychain, which is attached to his belt with a chain, but not like it's for show. His tools seem well worn in a good way. We make our way around the rectangle, and I see that his bed goes on top of a set of drawers. That's pretty smart, I say, marveling at how quickly the whole thing comes together. "I'm a smart guy," he says, grinning again. We talk as he screws, sharing the basics of our jobs. "I can already tell you're a lot like my brother, Liam," he says with a nod. "You like things to be particular, right? I can almost feel you itching to organize my sock drawer once I get this thing put together." I huff out a laugh. "Okay. Fair. I do keep a tidy house." I bite my lip and frown at the heaps of bags he seems to have kicked all around the room. Surely he's not going to just leave them like this. "So, you've got brothers? Was the person who helped you today one of your brothers? Drew? Nah. He's an intern. My brothers wouldn't help me move into an apartment sight unseen with a stranger." His eyes flare and he grins again. It's an expression that seems to come easily to him. "I think I just needed to do something I knew they'd hate. I don't know. How many brothers are there?" "Just 2. We have different moms. My dad was a bit of a lech." "A what? Different moms?" He nods and beckons for me to hold one last board, and I realize I'll have to climb on top of the bed structure, very close to where he kneels with the tools. I make my way over to him, and he smells like sawdust and a little sweat. I'm surprised to realize I like it. Cal says, "Yeah, so my dad, Mick, cheated on mine and Liam's mom with Zach's mom. Zach is just about a year younger than me. His mom skipped town. It's a whole shitstorm. So then my dad's brother, Uncle Kellen, moved in with us with my cousin because his wife died of cancer." I scoop up the last of the screws and hold them for Cal as he talks, loving the feel of his rough fingertips against my palm when he takes the tiny fasteners. "That's so sad," I say in response to his story. "Yeah, I remember my Aunt Helen. She was pretty great. But I will say, it was awesome having Orla and Uncle Kel in the house with us. She's more like a sister than a cousin, and it's sort of like we all grew up with two dads." "That's two more than I had," I blurt before I can think twice about it. I slap my palm over my mouth, so shocked that I would share such a thing with someone I just met. I make it a point not to talk about my past, not to be the white trash swan who rose from the slums to get herself educated. "Single mom, huh?" Cal doesn't seem like he harbors any judgment or fascination with what I've heard. He just takes it in as information, like it's perfectly normal to have either two fathers or none. I nod in response to his question. He never even stuck around to meet me. I tell him with a sigh. Cal stands up from the finished platform of his bed and turns to face me. He plunks a heavy hand on one of my shoulders and looks me in the eye, and I feel like I might combust between the heat of his skin and the burning honesty of his gaze. "Well, he sure did miss out, Logan." Before I can respond, he turns to hoist his mattress up from the ground. He seems to have duct taped it into a long tube, I guess so it would fit in his moving truck better. He fishes in the back pocket of his jeans and extracts a pocket knife this time, and I stare in wonder as he slices open the tape around the mattress and tosses it on his bed. I've never seen a man move like this, so sure of his body and space, so at ease in his movements. Cal straightens the mattress on his bed and then lifts his shirt to wipe at the sweat on his forehead. My eyes bulge when he pulls the shirt off and tosses it in a corner before he flops down on the bed, limbs spread wide like a starfish. "Phew, there's that done," he says. Then he pats the mattress next to him. "Why don't you come sit and tell me about how hard you always work to help your mom out?" I stare at him, frozen in place. "How do you do that?" I ask him, studying his face, trying not to stare at his naked chest. "Do what?" I gesture around the room. "Just say something of huge significance with no warm-up? Like it's not a test?" "There's no test, Logan," he says, patting the bed again. "But I am going to want to know how the hell you ended up with the dude's name."